This is a topic I frankly have a field day with because that's what most of my applications were when I was developing stuff in Linux, was a file system, but not just that. A file system is going to look very similar to what you had in, if you're a Mac or a Windows, it's the same. You have a root structure, some directories can be connected. Really, honestly, that's no different. But it's how you get to it that could be a little bit different than what you're used to before. Or if you're trying to pull from a shared directory, that's a whole nother ballgame that you probably didn't do in a Windows system or a Mac system or something of that nature. Remember that again, certain groups may be able to access some directories and some may not. So it's a really, really neat setup, especially when we do some type of scripting on how we're going to access the different files and directories within our Linux system. Or Unix, it's exactly the same. But anyway, so this is all, you're used to that part. Attributes of a file or something that you probably, type of the file, size of the file, owner of the file. Here's the funny part though. To be very honest with you, and the stuff that I've done, I've had to worry about the type of file. .py, or was it .cpp, or was it .txt? That's also what they also mean by a type of file, not just a regular file, directory. That's also true too. Oh, there's a nightmare. Ugh, I'm not going to talk about it. Size of the file. I had a student submit a 1 terabyte sized file. Yeah, long time ago, that didn't go very well. I had a function call that went through and just scanned every night to look for that file before we ran out of space on the machine and was able to determine it by size. So these are different things that we actually can use to do searches and be able to pull from. Permissions for a file, and go over here in a little bit, but that's a lot more complicated than just read and write. There's other situations with that. So there's a lot more to this, but a lot of it you thankfully already know. So that's a good news. That's good news. I wanted to add one last thing to this, and that's the path all the way down the bottom here where it says /users SL Lupoli /home. Notice, by the way, slash is the other way. That's something me being dyslexic, always forget. But the overall structure looks about the same, but the path is going to be just slightly different, and how it's built is going to be very different. Yes, there's no C : for you Windows users. Mac, I don't know if you probably pay an extra $1,000 for that. But anyway, it is slightly different than what you're used to, and the overall structure is going to look very similar to even what we have here for every single Linux system. Your system, my system, that structure is going to look somewhat the same in most cases. So again, just a little add-on there.